Welcome, everybody, to the Claims Game podcast and the Commercial Claim Show. And I'm so excited. We have a very special guest here, my good friend, Lynette Young. How are you?
Thank you very much. Good to see you again.
So excited.
Surprise to Tampa.
For those of you that don't know who Lynette Young is, she is the owner, CEO,
Head chief cook, bottle washer.
head person in charge of ClaimWizard. I have a very exciting announcement to basically state that we have been using all kinds of CRMs. I've tried all kinds of stuff, but I believe that it's time for Vince Perry and Elite Resolutions to move to ClaimWizard.
Done.
I think it's time.
It's done.
Why? Because quite frankly, when you go on let me turn to you now. When you go on Facebook, when you go on the different things that people talk, they're always asking, what's a good CRM? What's a good CRM? The least amount of complaints that I hear are normally from ClaimWizard.
Yes.
What I want to talk about with you, because I like to get, sometimes this is going to go anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. So I like to get the good stuff because people like to come off and log off after a few minutes. So I want to talk about the user interface.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the number one complaint people have about ClaimWizard.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what they say. It looks ancient. It looks clunky.
Somebody told me long in the tooth.
It looks
you
long.
Yourself must be old to use that phrase.
So I'm excited because that's the first thing you told me. Like, what's something that we can start off with? It's that. What do you guys got going on?
We're doing a whole big redo. So ClaimWizard as a software platform has been out for over 11 years. So how we put it out over a decade ago. We've been building software, we were talking since 1992 for public adjusters. It's not ClaimWizard. We built it private for specific larger public adjusting companies, branched out early 2000s, decided to do it our own. And a lot of the reason was that because when people build their own thing, even now I talk to public adjusters, you don't want to use ClaimWizard, you want to use a competitor, you want to use what I call duct tape and hand grenades, you want to piece together all this stuff, right? Go right at it, but just understand that you need to know your business process and what you need to track, and legally what you need to track for your policy holders and for compliance for your state licenses and all these kind of things. And a lot of people just know the surface of the iceberg, right? Mm-hmm. So because we've been working on this for literal decades, when we first started ClaimWizard, we picked a UI, user interface, how it looks, all the screens look to everybody a certain way. And then we have spent the last over a decade adding features, adding functionality, adding, when things like FIGA and LIGA, like, when you start losing your insurance companies in Louisiana and Florida, and now there's a whole different way to process, we have to build those features and those processes into the system. So to be quite honest, the makeup was, a new dress was the last thing we were worried about with ClaimWizard. But we've gotten to a point now with our team, there's 10 of us total, and with our team that we could take the time and just redo it from the ground up. And it's really like building a brand new house. You're using the same set of, blueprints, but you have to rip everything down and build it up from scratch. So it's not just like changing a screen or painting over something. It's a big process. So that's what we're doing now.
I'm assuming the design is what it's really all about. That's kind of where it starts. Is that so? Do you have any ideas of what it's going to look like, or
they won't show me yet? I'll be honest, because then I stick my finger in things. I'm like, well, what about this and what about that? And they're like, just settle down. Yeah. I've been in some of the higher design meetings for that, but the way I kind of explain ClaimWizard to people is the database for any large, robust software system, CRM or workflow, the database and how all the data connects to each other and how seamless and all that jazz. It's kind of like a Rubik's Cube. And depending on the color of the Rubik's Cube, like I can't do a Rubik's Cube. Like I will take it apart, move the stickers. That's why I'm not a developer. But you can maybe say, I want every side to have two specific, like you can mix it around. That's our job at ClaimWizard. But how it looks is the outside, is the colors. But all the intricacies on the inside is kind of our secret sauce of how we do that. So we're basically giving it a paint job on the outside, but you still have to make sure that everything flows right and the screens are right. Like it's techie stuff that we're doing the designs for those. So it'll be by fall.
What? Okay, so by fall?
By fall, yeah.
Are you pretty confident about that?
Yeah. The way that it is you won't come in one day and ClaimWizard will completely look different, because we can change the name of a button and I get calls from girls and they're freaking out. Oh my gosh, what? It's like we took out an extra space and they like freak because it's different. And people, sometimes, when things are different, you get nervous that it's wrong. So we roll it out into phases. That's kind of how we'll do it. We'll start with the dashboard and then some other pieces and things like that. But we have a lot of really big, like meat and potatoes changes that we're putting in to handle large loss, commercial loss, multi-building, multi-location, multi-insurance, like every kind of which way that you can mix things up. And on the surface, people would say, well, it looks very easy to do. But when you get into the programming and the development, that's why we're glad we use all in-house people. One of our guys travels back and forth to Mexico because apparently it's cheaper to live there than the U.S.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, all of our staff is U.S. based in San Antonio and then one up in Chicago. So we, got together. We've got good talent. They all work for us. So we control, their environment and things like that. So it's been really good, but we're making big strides. And you're right, because sometimes I get on message boards and they're like, oh, ClaimWizard, it looks like garbage.
Yeah.
Then a lot of people, once they get in, they're like, oh, but it's really functional.
Well, I mean, I think that's the most important thing is making sure that it's functional.
Do you want to go on a date with an ugly girl? I mean,
it's okay.
She's got a great personality.
Exactly.
Like, the ugly girl with a great personality.
You're done. You're tired of that.
I'm tired of that business. So yeah. So I mean, we knew it was coming, and we're very self-aware. No one's perfect. No software platform is ever going to be perfect.
Ever.
Not even one that someone designs for themselves. There's always changes in the industry that you have to pay attention to. We have dedicated staff, myself being one of them, that I pay strong attention to how all the different states are working, how their laws are going, even things like crazy litigation that's going on in a state and how that could potentially affect how we need to design our software for 2 to 3 years from now. So we've kind of got feelers all over to make sure that whatever we're building is going to support whatever type of public adjusting business you have, whether you're one guy and you do a resi roof every couple of weeks just to make some extra money, to some of the multinational companies that I have that are in 3 or 4 countries. So
Sure.
We have to make one product that makes everybody happy, which means we make no one happy.
I wanted, oh my God, I just went blank, but tell me more, tell me about the history. I want to know a little bit more about ClaimWizard. We were talking before we started recording, although we were recording, but I want to know a little bit more about the history of ClaimWizard and how it came about, because what I like about ClaimWizard, and I'm probably just saying this because I know from experience of working with a CRM that's not dedicated fully to public adjusters. And we could go off on that tangent because to me, I think that's amazing, is that literally it is just for public adjusters. But how did that all come about?
So a million years ago, so my husband Dave is my business partner, and he started writing software for public adjusting companies 1992, 1993, roughly around there. And where we used to live up in the Northeast outside of Philadelphia, big ecosystem for public adjusters, much like Miami. And he started writing software for public adjusting company to track claims and track the conversations and track compensation, because compensation in public adjusting, it's contingency on top of contingency, and not a lot of people were getting it. Your paychecks, payroll systems, they didn't understand it. So he wrote custom software for all of this. And then come early 2000, big life event, and we decided that we weren't going to be working for other companies anymore. They had outgrown them, we had outgrown them, however it works. And we wanted to make a system that was more accessible, because when you're a very large public adjusting company and you have outsourcing wasn't a thing overseas then. You had to hire all this local talent, and who's going to manage them and who's going to design the product and who's like, that's not what a public adjusting company needs to do.
Right.
They're like, I want this thing and I want it to work.
Right.
And it costs a lot of money. So we wanted to make a system that we could control what features went in when you need to start working in another state and the laws are different or the timeline. We needed to be really agile like that. And quite honestly, we didn't want to work for anybody else anymore. Mm-hmm. And we wanted it to be at a price point that all of our friends that were, solo public adjusters could afford, not a company that's got 80 public adjusters. Like there's a big difference. So we started writing the system, and then Katrina came through. So my husband went down with a group of public adjusters. They would be out during the day getting claims and adjusting claims, and my husband was writing and coding the system. Huh. And then at night they would have, Oreo eating contest, whatever you do in New Orleans when nobody's around. And they would go through the system and look and say, hey, this works or that doesn't work. And they'd work real-time claims as he's writing the system to kind of get through it.
That's exactly the way to do it.
It was really road tested. And that was the beginning of it, like probably however long, 13 years ago, however long Katrina was.
Oh, 5.
5?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Oh, wow. So, okay, yeah. And
I remember laying in my bed, watching that thing, and I'm like, this is not going to go well. It had just passed us since I was in Miami at the time.
Yeah, well, I was up in New Jersey.
I remember it was just like this, wow. Like,
yeah, just big and heavy and slow. Wow. Yeah. That was probably the first big cat that I remember that had like national coverage.
It was insane.
Yeah, normally when you're down in the Florida, the Gulf area, you hear about it down here, but in the Northeast, you would never hear about that unless we got a nor'easter like we had with Sandy, or Superstorm Sandy. But yeah, we never heard about those hurricanes on the news until that one. That was the one that,
Well, Andrew too, 92.
Andrew too.
Not since
That's
Andrew.
True.
I would say it was Andrew, and then it was Katrina.
We did. I remember all the New York, the news stations would cover it, but it was, you get a clip where Katrina was like the whole news cycle.
I remember exactly where I was, what I was doing for 92 Andrew and for Katrina 2005.
Because you were here. Yeah, that's crazy. Where were you?
Well, Katrina, no, I was here. We got hit by Katrina, but it wasn't too bad. Okay, so Katrina, that's an amazing way to build a platform. And then that's the way to do it.
We've been off on the races. Like there was a demand for it. We had the talent. We had the network. We'd been in the industry already to almost 10 years, a little more than that.
Well, tell me more about before, though, because I'd love to get into 2005 because I became an adjuster in 2008. I remember hearing about ClaimWizard, but the company that I was working for at the time...
So we were baby software then.
Exactly. I had heard about it, but I know that I think we just used Excel spreadsheets like everybody else. We didn't have a software. And then the next company that I worked for, we were just basically all out on our own, and I was doing that for like ever. I didn't even start using a CRM until Trello. Probably 3 years ago. So that's the first time I started using a CRM. I definitely want to ask some tough questions in regards to asking you what it does and what it doesn't do. But real quick, tell me back to 90, how in 92, why public adjusting? I just don't understand, like why it's such a niche.
I blame my brother-in-law.
Even with my YouTube channel, people are like, what? Like, I don't even understand, why public adjusting?
I know. Well, like most people, you've never heard of public adjusting, right?
To this day, let alone in 92.
Like not happening. So because in the Philadelphia area, there's such a concentration of public adjusters, and I don't know the history of how they got to be, but my brother-in-law he was like one of the original 6 or something working at a company that wound up having 60 or 70 adjusters and then all the support staff and everybody that goes with it. And because they were they had a very unique payroll situation, with overrides and things like this, like they couldn't just call a payroll company and say, it was like so crazy to calculate this. My husband wrote their payroll system and wrote their claim tracking software. And it was so basic. It was just I think scanners were just becoming like a small office thing. Normally just big corporations could afford them. And so he wrote the software to help them keep track of it. And then it morphed and got bigger and bigger. And then other companies would hire him. Says that software belongs to that company. You can't reuse that code. Go someplace else, rewrite the same thing. Go someplace else. He's like rewriting the same thing. So his brother has since long left the industry. He's a property investor now, but he's the one that I'm like, thanks for getting us in this, Dan. And then you bail on us kind of thing. But that's how we got into it. And when I was first dating my husband, well, before it was my husband, we were supposed to go on a date. And one of his clients had an issue and he's like, you want to come with me? Because I was a network engineer. I was a geek. Not a geek like I am now, a different kind of geek. And I was like, what does your client do? They're a small business. I work with I was peppering the hell out of him. And he's like, what is going on? Why are you so interested? But the whole advocacy part of public adjusting was very, very appealing to me. I'm like, I don't want to be a public adjuster. Let's make no misunderstanding.
Or do I blame you?
I will not. No.
It is a grind.
It's a grind.
Yeah.
But I was like, I can support them. So Dave and I have very different and very unique skill sets. And it just so happened. I always joke that if I didn't wind up marrying him, I'd probably still be his business partner.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But you're partners in life and partners in business.
27 years.
That's a long time.
Yes. It is.
Okay. I want to talk about some stuff. Okay. So I'm going to tell you some of the issues that I have.
Okay.
Not with ClaimWizard, just in general with
Just
claims.
okay.
And with my current CRM. I won't mention any names.
Please.
But, huh?
Yeah, don't.
No need.
I love them all.
I love, and I honestly, I love
There's something out there for everyone. Really,
exactly. So again, what I'm most excited about is for public adjusters. The breakdown. Does ClaimWizard give me a breakdown? And by the way, I do want to announce that we are in the process of transitioning. So I have only looked at ClaimWizard maybe for 30 minutes total in my life. So we're going to do this again.
Yeah.
After I've dived into it. And then I could ask you some even more hardball questions.
Exactly.
Or softball questions too. What I want to know, again, this might be preaching to the choir, but for those that don't know anything about ClaimWizard, one thing that I have to deal with is I like to know what the breakdown is of a claim because the insurance company sends it to me, but I want to know what we get at the end. Am I able to sort of implement that settlement? We get a settlement letter from the insurance company that breaks down replacement costs, minus actual cost value, minus deductible, and then we add in depreciation costs, and this is what you blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Does ClaimWizard do that for me?
Everything. So yes, so if we look at that, the financials, we actually have two parts of financials, and I call one hopeful money, I hope we get the money, and that's where the estimates live. But then when they start making the settlements, and it could be all different parts. You can go part A, B, C, D. You can do, if your business BI or building 1, building 2, or maybe you're just doing envelope and contents, or however you want to break it down, however you're running your estimates and breaking it out that way. You can track all of them separately with prepayments, deductibles. If you're getting because a lot of states, you can't collect a fee on deductibles. A lot of states, you can't collect on prior payments. There's all of these crazy rules depending on where you are. And that's why
does the software know it?
The software can, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So we can break all that down. So you might say there's a $5,000 deductible that you can't get payment on. We'll take that out of and not include it in your fee structure as you're breaking down.
Interesting.
So we take care of all of that. But all of that, when you're talking about estimates and all of those monies for all of those different pieces of a claim, to me, that's hopeful money. I hope I'm getting this. I put in $10,000 and change or whatever for an estimate. Maybe I'll get 9 and change. So I'm hoping for 10. But once the actual agreement is made between you and the carrier on behalf of your client, that's locked in. So now we know we're going to get $9,750. That's locked in, and we track that to make sure that they're not missing their payments, they're hitting their deadlines, that when it comes in, if you're using us specifically, you can track where the check is, if the mortgage company has it, if the policyholder has it, or we're going to be doing an integration with Inc. So if you put a check in with Inc., it'll process it all from there. I mean, you have to go to Inc. to do the check picture thing and all that, but you'll be able to get statuses right in ClaimWizard from that as well too. So
click the link below for 100% off signing up with Inc. By the way, Inc. is a partner of ours as well.
Oh, are they really?
Yeah, Inc's great.
Those guys.
Oh my God, I had so many questions. This is why I have to write stuff down.
But yeah, so we handle money. So normally when a public adjuster looks at it, they look at it I made a claim for this much money. The carrier came back and said a little bit less, how much money, and then the breakdown. But for us, it could be that simple, but we can break it down so much more intricately. But I always say only do it when you need to. If you're doing a straight, easy roof resi claim or something, there's no reason to get crazy with breaking everything down. But if you're dealing with a municipality, a school system, a church, all that big crazy, you have to break all this down. It's the only way to make sure the numbers are going to come out right.
What about, so I have to have a completely separate board in my current software with the payments. So I create basically a brand new claim. I don't know what you call it in ClaimWizard. I call it a job. I create a brand new one for each check that comes in.
Yeah.
It's the only way that I can track it because I tried keeping it on the claim board and the notes on the check, you know what I'm saying? Going back and forth the mortgage or whatever, it gets convoluted with the notes of the actual claim as the claim keeps going. I don't have to do that with ClaimWizard?
So in ClaimWizard, you have this concept of action item workflow, which I think a lot of people are starting to do now. But once it gets to the point of settlement, of determination and settlement, when you get that determination back from the carrier, it's kind of like choose your own adventure. It could go one of, say, 4 or 5 different ways. A couple of those ways are more immediate money, but once it goes down there, pardon me, it becomes a Wild West. You don't know if you're getting one check with the full payment. That you don't know if they're send you a bag of pennies every 6 months.
No,
you don't know
there's
what you're getting.
Contents and mitigation and ALE and build back. Those are 4 different checks.
Yeah. 4 different checks, 4 different amounts. Some are paid in full, some are not paid.
It's a nightmare.
So when you track checks in ClaimWizard, it really leaves workflow.
Oh, okay.
And it's this huge financial module. We
Got
call it a
it.
claim ledger. It's kind of like accounts receivable, but we work claim by claim. So a claim for us is siloed. So just like you're saying, where you kind of take it off the board and then you put it into its own thing, it does that natively inside of your own claim. So for us, a project is a claim. But once you get to that side of it, there's this huge financial bubble that kind of comes up, and then you can track everything. Who's got the check? If it's paid, if it's endorsed, do you have expenses related to that claim that you need to pay? Are you getting fees before or after expenses? Are you paying your adjusters before and after expenses? I mean, literally, I have worked with 1,100 public adjusting companies, and I have seen 2,200 different ways to do finances. Not one of them's the same, with very, very few exceptions that I've not really seen pop up in the industry. It's like sliding scale fees and stuff like that, which come up in some really large claims. Other than that, we can handle pretty much, and that were put in there anyway, but we can handle any kind of finances with that. Because that was the biggest thing. When I first got involved with ClaimWizard, like I was very behind the scenes kind of gal up until maybe about 10 years ago. And I would talk to people on the phone, and older gentleman, real sweet, Southern drawl. And he's like, honey, I make a lot of money, but I don't know where it is. I was like, what? He goes, I have live checks sitting all over my desk. I don't know. There's a $250,000 check here. Mm-hmm. Everybody signed it. It's my money. I don't know where it is. Mm-hmm. I got a check over here for $300,000. He had $1 million of checks laying around in his office that were signed, ready to go to the bank. He had no idea where they were.
I believe it. I mean, I don't know why he wouldn't deposit them if they were all signed and ready to go.
They're signed and ready.
I've got checks. I've got. You come into my office right now. I've got an envelope of checks that are I'm just waiting.
Mm-hmm. But I'm sure in that stack he had checks that were going to his clients that weren't signed and he didn't know.
That sucks.
Somebody opened his mail, put it in. He didn't know to track it. So for me, well, for all of us actually at ClaimWizard, tracking the finances was a huge part of it.
That's
because
a big
people lost so much money or got sued because they didn't give their policyholders the money. You know, back in the day when the check used to come 100% to the public adjuster, and it was a PA's job to distribute it. Now it's different all over the place. But I mean, can you imagine that check sitting with the PA and somebody's living without a garage or kitchen, and you just forgot about that check because, like, no.
And then the news comes out, and it's like public adjuster scam artist scams everybody. They were just so freaking unorganized that they.
I know. Thanks for picking one out of thousands and thousands and make it. Yeah. So I get real riled up when I hear negative press about public adjusters.
I'm so happy that you said that. Did you see the video I posted recently? I called out Jimmy Petronas. I was like, come on, man.
As you should.
Stop. I'm like,
as you should.
Stop.
I know.
It's not cool.
I know.
He's talking about all door knockers going out there. Those are all scam artists. I'm like, wait, so you're telling me as a business owner, if I know that there's claims in a place, I can't go and offer my services? Like, get out of here with that.
I live in Texas, and Texas got its own. Every state has its own problems, but Florida, you're all very unique with that guy. Yeah. That's very difficult. It's very difficult.
Anyway.
Yes, I know that you call it out when you see it too, which is why I like you.
Cut real quick. Do you want some more water?
No, I'm fine.
No? Okay. Make sure you watch until that part. So
we're doing rapid fire questions because this was like a spur of the moment kind of things, folks.
You can keep track of claim expenses as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Per claim. So I will say that for us, finances is per claim. So if you get, say, a rent check, we're not going to be able to take that rent check and divide it across 30 claims or your payroll. Like, that's business expenses. But if it's a per
like an estimator or something like that.
An estimator in IH, you have to get a report. But if it's a claim expense, it goes in there and we can track it.
What about, I've been using, and to this day, I have a spreadsheet, we call it the weekly scorecard, where I have my admin basically updated. As a claim settles, I'm able to keep track of not only the revenue amount, but the claim settlement amount, claim signed, claims closed, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Does ClaimWizard do that for me?
That's our dashboard. You can get real-time information.
Honestly, that might have been my biggest selling point. When you showed me the dashboard, I was like, oh, like it's like a whole cool like table. I see claims signed, claims closed, settlement amounts, and revenue too, right?
Yeah, and we do crazy things because crazy people ask us for crazy things. You can actually get the difference between peril date, the contract sign date, and when it was entered into the system. because I work a lot inside. Now I only exclusively work with public adjusters, first party claims professionals, like some roofers and some restos and some law firms, but all within this life. And they would have a client would come to them and they had something happen in January, house fire. They got the contract signed in February. Well, the girls in the office didn't put it until March. Now you're talking 90 days from the date of loss. Like, look at those deadlines that have just blown right by.
Yep.
Like, we've got to tighten that up. So the fact that we can get really particular about the types of reports that we're running really helps people run a tight ship.
Well, tell me about that then. Tell me about the date. One thing that I need to be notified every 7 days if I haven't touched a claim. Does ClaimWizard do that?
Easy, yeah.
Awesome. And what about the deadlines? How do you guys have it? Because that's one thing that I spoke with Jennifer.
Jen.
I spoke with Jen about. I said, Jen, I need to be strict, especially particularly, we work a lot of claims in Florida and Texas, different timelines. I need to be like strict. I need like a super crazy notification that says, this is day 7, this is day 15, this is day 30, this is day 90. Like, let's go, take action on it. You guys have that?
Yes. A lot of our things that we do, not particularly that type of deadline, but there's a lot of features within ClaimWizard that we key off of the peril state. So if a peril happened in Texas, we can alert you 60 days after something. If a peril happens in Florida, we can alert you 30 days. So we take into account where these losses are happening, where your clients are, and the loss address, not the mailing address. Like, that's all different. But the loss address itself, the state makes a big difference, right? So a lot of what we do keys off of the state. And even in Florida, we have some, it really only applies to attorneys, but we have some law firms here that use us, and they'll go through and they want to know like which court system they have to file to. Like, I don't understand anything about law. This court system or this judge or whatever, like, I don't even understand, but depending on the peril address's zip code.
Yeah.
And sometimes their actual block address is dependent on which court they have to file suit to. So we have all of Florida loaded in for that, because Florida's the only one that really needs it at this point.
Listen, Florida, like Texas, is very unique, okay?
Listen, as Florida does, the rest of the industry
It's always
goes.
either Florida. Where did this happen? Florida or Texas? It's always one of them.
Texas, one or the other.
Automations, templates. What can be done in regards to, like, we have, and I'll just give you an example. We have a template when a claim moves from one status to the next. We have the option of either sending an automated email out. I've got an automation. Sorry, I've got a template to the customer, and I've got a template to the contractor. I said all of this stuff to you guys already. I know you guys are on it. Can we make sure that we have those templates saved somewhere so that they're used? Can it also be automated if I wanted to automate to automatically send when it moves to a different status?
I'll be honest, Vince, we can do the automation.
I don't know how much I want it either.
And that's the thing.
That's the thing.
See, that's the thing.
My staff was like, no. What we do is we get a task created for us to send the template.
We can do all of those other things, and when we've tested it with people, they've immediately, simultaneously shot themselves in the foot in the face.
Yeah, because if you move from one status back to another, then they get that automation again.
Somebody does it by accident, or they put the wrong claim type in, or they were really a commercial client and not a resi client, and we really truly believe that there should be eyeballs when you move these things. So you can do it where it'll automatically generate and say, okay, look at it, yes, send it, kind of thing. So yeah, that's been in there, especially when you're going from one phase of a claim to another. So if you're I always look at a claim as having like 3 big major buckets: claim origination and onboarding, adjusting and estimating, and then post-determination, right? Some people divide it into 5, but
I mean, we've got like 12.
Yeah, but in there, in those 3 buckets, then there's more, and at the bottom level, there's all the individual tasks that everybody has to do. Generate a proof of loss, fill it out,
Do you have automated tasks that are created, like automated like checklists and stuff that you have to go through?
Mm-hmm. We have a lot of samples that we give, but then we also work with companies, and a lot of them honestly are they resonate more in Florida, just because it's where I tend to work the most with folks. Although we have people in 5 countries. Australia is weird, by the way. They're very slow. Their laws are similar. So we have clients in ClaimWizard that are like Canada, US, Mexico, the UK, and Australia, because they have similar insurance industries that we do. Philippines doesn't, Central America, Paraguay, like all
Next
the
time I travel,
they don't.
You have to introduce me to one of these. I have to have them on the podcast, like a UK
I'll see if I could get
public adjusting
you want me to
firm.
get the Australian
That would be amazing.
Australian guy.
Yeah, we got to know what claims are like out there.
But they move real slow. Like that's what's amazing to me. There's not a lot of like laws or deadlines or like
What's the problem?
It's just it just moves. Like or talk to the magistrate or something. Like what? Like
That's insane.
it's just slow.
Yeah.
But there's also I'll be honest. There's also the public adjusters that are out there do other types of work because there's so little of a necessity to actually use a public adjusters because the insurance companies do what they're supposed to do.
Ah, yes. Well, there's that.
So
It'd be very easy to get rid of us.
Yeah.
Just pay.
Just do what you're supposed to do.
Exactly.
You could wipe us out tomorrow. Just do what you're supposed to do. But yeah, so we do all that automation, but we really feel that you should be eyeballing it at least before it goes and sends out kind of thing. So
file storage?
Unlimited.
Okay. Emails.
Right.
Can you send an email through the software?
No, and that's something people don't like, and we are working on it. Microsoft will be the death of us. We would have to hook in directly into your inbox.
Okay.
And it freaks a lot of people out.
Okay.
And I'll be getting into the techie world here, hooking into free Gmail and free Yahoo and free Mac or Apple, whatever that's difficult. If you have a real email thing and have your domain or whatever, that's a little bit easier.
So is there a way?
We do email archiving.
I was going to say, so then if it doesn't do that, and by the way, even if you did, that gets very complicated too. It gets very complicated, convoluted, because you end up using your own email and you end up using the CRM. It gets very messy also.
We piloted this and
it didn't work.
Oh, it worked. And then I saw his Match.com emails get filed in with claims.
Match.com. What is the other one? What's the one for cheating husbands?
Oh no, my favorite was
Madison.
Oh yeah, Ashley Madison. I forgot about that one. There was one like Only Farmers.
Oh God.
It was a dating site, but then your personal stuff is going in there, and I'll be honest, it's in there. It's discoverable.
Yeah. So how do people take the emails and then archive them in the CRM?
You have each claim has a unique email address.
Perfect.
And you just
that's so much better. You just copy it.
Yeah, or BCC it, however you want to do it.
That's That's so much better.
And it goes in there, and what we do is we give you 2 views of it. So when you put data into ClaimWizard, photos, documents, PDFs, emails, we preserve the integrity of that actual digital file. Like all email is a .eml file, like all docs, docx, whatever it is. Even photographs, there's metadata, all that stuff. We've had, one of my more favorite stories was with photographs. I had an attorney for a public adjuster standing outside getting ready for a deposition. He's looking at these pictures that the carrier had sent in, and they had a copy of it and they put it into ClaimWizard. Well, that digital footprint travels with it, and they realized that the insurance carrier took photos after water dry out and remediation and claimed that it was before.
What bastards.
You'd never think that would happen.
Wow.
And they tried to pass it off as, well, the damage doesn't look that bad. It's because they already had $10,000 of water sucked out of their house. And they were able to find that because obviously we don't. And I was like, did you look at the technical information on this? There's the guy's the phone and the date and time and the GPS, and they got him because of that. The same with your email. So when that email file comes in, it's a little document package, just like PDF. And there's a lot of technical information that goes in there. So a lot of times you're interfacing with someone, you think they're working at a carrier, they're really an IA or TPA. You can see that data in the email when you look at it. So we preserve all of that for evidence. I mean, it really is evidence when you think, I mean, that's what you're doing. You're like looking for evidence of damage and looking for policy coverages. And that's what public adjusters do. And us as data geeks, we have to keep data as pure and pristine in its original format as we can. You upload a picture upside down, we're going to give it to you back upside down. We may change it a little to show it to you, but in the back end, it's always the same because, when you get into it, there's a lot of it sounds weird, but there's like a lot of cybersecurity type things that you can pick out of that data, and the carriers are doing it. So why shouldn't we provide that for public adjusters? Like It's David and Goliath. Why not give you the tools for that? So we protect your email coming in, and then when it's in there, you don't have to go to somebody else's inbox or, hey, where's this? It's basically a unified mail storage for every email that came in for that claim, and you can print it and export it and PDF it right away. You can press one button and get every, or select pieces, whatever you choose to share, to give to your client, to give to an attorney. For people get subpoenaed, they press one button, they have everything, and they're done.
Got it.
Or if they're handing a file to a law firm and they want all that discoverable information, it takes 2 seconds to get it.
That's awesome.
Which is done.
The portal, everyone's favorite, the customer portal.
Yeah.
Where people can go in, they have their own login, they can look at the status, and they can look at the activity too, right?
You can turn that on and off, though, what you choose to show them.
You could also, you could choose the things that you want to show them and not to show them.
Yeah.
Can you choose certain specific activity from that week too? Or that's awesome.
Yeah. So you may have the full fire hose in your system when you're seeing, but what you're showing a client isn't the fire hose, because it'll confuse them. And it's not even a matter of like exposing information that shouldn't be seen, because that's not the case. It just gets confused. I just, for the first time in my life, had to run a claim on my house. Insurance company came at me and said $1,200 for a 2.5-inch hail. And my public adjuster got me $31,000, and I have a brand new roof and new gutters and new screens. So, What
has been the reaction of the customer portal, though? That's what how has that been? Because I get mixed reactions from people.
Sometimes when I explain it to people, they get a little, on the public adjusting side, specifically office staff or the folks that have to talk to the clients, say the policyholders, they get nervous or like, oh my gosh, they're going to get so confused. We cater to an older audience or an audience that doesn't speak English. You can change the language in there.
Oh, wow.
So plenty of people have it changed to Spanish or Portuguese, or Haitian Creole was my favorite, that sort of thing. So that your client, whenever you put in, is probably going to be in that language as well, so your clients can understand it. But you don't have to give them that portal. The younger, newer clients, like, I love a portal. I'm not that young, but I'll go in there. But you can pick and choose which clients you want to use it with as well, too. But the nice thing about that is you can also upload information, so they don't have to. Pictures on phones are big. And email doesn't really take over 5 or 10 meg, which is just a handful of photos from an iPhone.
They can look at all the photos.
They can
upload their own.
They can just drag and drop a dump of them and just get it done from their phone or from wherever and get it done. But the idea of the portal was to answer questions without generating more questions.
Does it actually create more questions?
No, it doesn't.
Or does it actually back them off a little bit?
It does. It backs them off. So depending on where a claim is, we'll automatically put it in an answer up there to say a claim is a negotiation. So you might have something and we give you all the answers, but you can always change them. Like, this claim is currently being negotiated between your public adjuster and the insurance carrier to get you your maximum settlement. Like something pretty generic. That's basically what you're going to tell them on the phone anyway.
That's what my template is also.
Yeah, exactly. So they can
at least it's something.
2:00 in the morning on Saturday, and instead of calling you. And they can self-serve. They can see this. We have a heartbeat monitor on there that kind of shows them in nothing particular, but we don't want it to flatline. Flatlining is bad.
Yes.
But it gives them blips to say, your public adjuster has done 36 things on your claim in the last 2 weeks.
That's awesome.
And they get excited about it. It might be putting an update. It might be sending in an email.
It might be something stupid, but at least it's something. I get it.
Excited. It's like, well, you've been working on my claim for 2 months. What have you done?
I've had that conversation with people, and I look back on other adjusters that they'll complain, let's say, about one of the other adjusters. Well, your adjuster hasn't done anything. And I'm like, well, literally every single day since we signed your contract, something has been done in your claim.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it shows that.
People that, as part of, and everybody gets to do their business how they want, but they'll send an email reminder automatically every 2 weeks to their client going, hey, whether or not there's been updates. There's been updates. Have you checked your client portal lately? So they can go and check themselves.
Oh, I like that. I would like to do that.
Yeah, so when you're handling so many claims, it's easier than, I won't say them personalizing it for everybody, because of course there's going to be some.
No, it's just a quick reminder. Hey, come and check. Like, we want you to come check.
There's been updates, or if you have any more pictures or receipts, here's the portal. Go upload them for us. Like, it reminds your clients that you're working on things, and they feel like they can peek in anytime they want without having to call you and bother you. I hate my public adjuster's a friend of mine. I hate calling them. I want to call them and bug them.
I wish you were my client.
Look in there.
Just because it gets there are clients that just it's like, come on, give me a break. And
Where's
they blame us.
If
it's been 2 weeks, it's like, and they don't understand that we did follow up with a week, or let's say we didn't follow up. There's a reason why we didn't follow up, because nothing was happening.
Yeah,
I like
they
that
don't
form.
understand the process. That's why they hire professionals like you, but then they forget that they hire professionals.
Even
like
we send them a claim package, Lynette. We send them a claim package. We explain everything to them over the phone and in person, and they're still quite. It
Yeah.
just depends on the person. It doesn't depend. It depends on the client.
Yeah. So the portal's not going to work for every client,
Mhm.
but I will say generically it skews better for younger people that are more used to being on their phones and everything like that. If you're serving an elderly community or anything, that's not going to, you're probably going to have to pick up the phone. I worked at a client, I was in their offices and they had one girl and every afternoon she had the list.
Oh.
And the list was the elderly clients and they usually had like some sort of power of attorney, a person who was really helping them. But they would call the lady, how are you? Oh, where did you go for lunch today? Like, because they want, and it was just a small section. Most of their things could be taken care of by the portal, but there was some of them they had to call. And
I have an
gotta
ideal
do it.
client. I have an ideal client. It's usually anywhere between 45 to 55. I prefer entrepreneurs or real estate investors or someone that's so busy that they're going to allow me to just do my job at my own pace and get the claim settled. That just don't bother me. Like I tell people always, I do a lot of networking and stuff like that. And I tell them, here's my ideal client. I already have them visualized. I have them picture and everything because that's the kind of client that I want.
And no disrespect to homeowners, no disrespect to anybody, but I feel that a professional appreciates a professional better. When you're not a professional in any way, shape, or form, you're not necessarily going to truly see the value of somebody like you and a public adjuster could bring in. So yeah, it is easier to work with them.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I'm glad I went that. I want you guys to know that we've just moved over and we are moving over slowly because when we moved to a new CRM, it was 2022 and we moved to the CRM in September of 2022. Do you want to know what happened at the end of September 2022? Hurricane Ian.
Oh.
Literally a week before.
I know.
And it was insane.
That's why I get on folks and they'll be kind of like sitting on the fence with us. I'm like, they're like, well, I'm not busy now. I don't have time. Like you do have time now.
We've been moving over claim. We've been doing it. And I know you have a team that helps and your team is helping tremendously, but we also hired somebody just to literally take one by one and like make sure all the information is just the way it's supposed to be, just because I don't want to put that stress on my team again. I don't want to put that stress on myself again. And it's a whole new thing.
To be honest, you're one of the more meticulous.
Really?
Yes.
Other people might say that I'm not.
No, you are you definitely, it's rare that I find someone that is super, I don't want to say interested, but like is really wants to do the process in steps and not just jump straight from A to B.
No. Because
a lot of mess goes in between. And when people rush, you'll have a plan and then something happens, some catalyst, and they're like, no, we just have to get to the finish line.
Yeah. Well, I am like that, but I've had a rough year. Last year was a rough year for the whole company, for a lot of us. I don't want to put that on them again.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that we get it right. I told Dave, I'm like, Dave, okay, Dave's like, I know that you want to get this done fast. And I'm like, no, chill. I just want to make sure we get it done right. I want everything there. Boom. When we open it, it's like all we need is a training on how to move things along, and everything is where it has to be.
Yeah.
You know, that's it.
I think make you a case study.
Yeah, that's fine.
You and your transformation in.
Well, I'm going to make you quite the case study, so I hope you're ready. Again, I was asking these questions for two reasons. I think it worked out perfectly because these are questions for people. These are more for people who don't have ClaimWizard yet and really want to get an understanding of what's going on. Anything that you feel really separates you from other CRMs out there for public adjusters?
For public adjusters. So breaking us out, like there are general CRMs out there. I never really thought of us as a CRM. I guess we're going to have to be. I really look at it as workflow because of the automation.
Why is the CRM such a terrible term? Everybody's like, I'm not a CRM.
No, you know why it is, Vince? Is because everyone has a different definition of a CRM. So they'll go, oh, you're a horrible CRM. I'm like, what's your definition of a CRM? Well, I want you to write sales bids. And I'm like, well, yeah we're not doing that.
We're not doing that.
So everyone has their own definition of a CRM. That's why I'm like, I was hesitant.
And there's different kinds of CRMs too. Like for example, for Commercial Claims Advocate, all of our courses, our CRM is Kajabi. It's what we use to send our emails. It's what we use to put our courses. And you don't do courses and you don't do that stuff, so you wouldn't be that kind of CRM.
Yeah, exactly. But as far as within the public adjusting realm, There's a lot of things that I think set us apart. Number one, we've been at this a long time and we really pay attention to the industry.
That was a big thing for me.
We don't have experience in just one or two public adjusting companies. We have decades of over 1,000 public adjusting companies. I've seen the inside. I was just joking this morning. I took my mom out to lunch with someone in the business, and I said, they're like, wow, Lynette, you must have a lot of skeletons in the closet. I'm like, you can open up a Spirit Halloween with how many skeletons I've seen in closets.
I can imagine.
It's really bad.
I can imagine.
So there'll be other companies.
I like what you said too, that you said that there's 1,100 public adjusting firms and
that I've worked with.
2,200 ways of doing things.
Exactly.
That's double it's every public. I
meet
with so many public adjusters. I'm part of like masterminds of only public adjusters, and we tell each other how we run our business. Every single one is different. Every single one has a different fee schedule. Every single one pays their adjusters differently, different percentage here, different percentage there, a million different ways to skin a cat.
Definitely. So not only do we pay attention to all that, I mean, there are other systems out there that have come out after us, and they may have experience with one or two public adjusting companies, usually their own. I've taken a lot of practice tests, but I will never actually everyone in my company is forbidden from ever getting a public adjusting license, because we will never be put in the position that we could possibly be seen as competing with our own clients.
That's a great idea.
Never, never, never. I've heard really bad stories about things that have not gone down with that. But not only do we know the claims process, we know the business process, which is above and beyond working a claim. And we build that into the system. That's why we do all these crazy things with invoices and expenses, and how we break down
the overall
fees and operations. It really is. It's really kind of branching up into the whole operations of the company. We have amazing customer support. Our training's pretty good from what we hear. We always answer the phone.
I'm going to find out that now.
Listen, you're on our VIP list, I'll be honest. You're on our VIP list.
Just want to make sure. I'm so scared, but I'm excited.
But we really try to pay attention to the entire person, of no matter where they are. And I know this sounds dumb. Like if you just did software to software, like we mentioned in the beginning, yeah, the way that we look is a little old and it's a little outdated, and we understand that. And there are newer systems that may look a little bit more streamlined or whatever. But when you call them, are they going to answer?
Right.
And you're like, well, I don't need help. But you know what? If you're out in the middle of a cat that just came through, and like when we will answer the phone. When cats come through and big stuff, I mean, we don't officially say it, so you're all going to hear it now. We still do tickets. We still answer calls. We still answer emails, because we know you guys are working super late. You can, solicit 9 to 9 or 8 to 8 or whatever. And then your other work starts at 9 o'clock at night. Like, we're always going to be there to help you. And not only are we going to be there to help you with the software and the claims, but we're going to help with your business, because there's so much experience across the entire industry. So we build that into our system, but our people are also really important for that. One of my customer care people used to write policies for commercial. One of them used to write policies for residentials. So while they're not public adjusters, they have the language.
Policies.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big deal.
So they, one of the folks was on the path. They wanted to become an underwriter, but decided against it.
Wow.
Like that's bean counting work for me. That's crazy.
That's insane. Yeah.
That's insane. But you've got such a team that we've assembled that can help public adjusters no matter where they are. We get folks, they're like, hey, I hired a VA and she doesn't know anything about insurance because she lives in a country that doesn't have insurance. We will take the time and we will teach them. She doesn't know what a proof of loss is. We'll teach them. We'll work them through. So we really don't just work with the software, if that makes sense. We're not really helping people with just the software. Of course, we do that, but I think that that's a lot of what we got known for, was just how we want to help people. Because I want to help policyholders, but I don't want to walk through their flooded out, moldy house. Thank you very much. No, you all can do that.
No, and I'm glad that you said that, because that's my why. When people ask, like, what's your why and stuff like that, for me, all the claims and even all the education that I do, ultimately, for me, I think it's like a childhood trauma, to be honest, but it's me like really sticking up for the little person. And that's ultimately what it boils down to. It's sticking up for the homeowner who's getting taken advantage of, or they've suffered a serious loss. They don't know what to do. And that's, to me, what we are as public adjusters, you know, and you are a representation of that. And what I do in CCA and this podcast and education, all of it is, to me, it all comes down to that, you know, and I'm glad that you said that because, yeah, that's definitely.
Yeah.
I
And my
100%.
heart, everything that I do now, well, I may have started, not that I don't care about a policyholder because I am one and
Yeah,
you are, everybody
sure.
is that it makes me crazy when I see someone or a group of people in a business that are amazing public adjusters but cannot run a business,
Right.
and they fail because of that, and now those resources are taken away from the public. Like, that's the part that gets me the most.
All right. I'm going to have one last question.
You gotta-
Give me one of the skeletons without mentioning any names. What's
Oh
one
my
of the
gosh, I
skeletons
just
you've
have
seen that
so
was a
many
complete...
skeletons.
Look,
All right,
it's
wait,
look. We're.
listen,
Well, I
it
don't know
could
how
be
long. Nobody's
hours.
watching at this point, so
Nobody's watching.
at the end of the podcast, though.
Let's think. I can probably think of a couple. So one public adjuster called me up one day and he said, "Lynette, what am I supposed to do?" And I was like, "What's up?" He goes, "I owe $68,000 in back taxes." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Did you know that you're supposed to pay businesses taxes as a business?" I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, they're going to take my license. I guess maybe the DOI will take your license if you're 3 years back on taxes."
Oh
I don't
my
know.
God.
He's like, "What do I do, Lynette?" And I was like, "Well, you find yourself like
accountant?
like a legal lawyer, an accountant lawyer. I don't know what it is.
Or a bank for a loan.
It ain't me. Leave the country. I
That's
don't know."
crazy.
We've had instances back in the day where there'd be a husband and wife team, and there was something weird somebody was seeing somebody that they weren't supposed to. So the wife was on the phone with my husband and I had the husband, and they were each trying to close out each other from the account. Like, they were like fighting over the baby, which was the data. We've seen people mutiny out of companies and try to leave.
What do you do with that? Like, that's always been. I actually have a question. Like, what do you do? What do you do when somebody's no longer with the company? Can you just shut them out?
Yeah.
Can you also, if let's say
And all their data stays, everything stays in there.
Well, let's say one of my public adjusters says, "You know what, Vince, I love you. This has been great. Thank you so much. It's because of you that I'm going to start my own public adjusting firm." I've noticed, for me, it's been very, very difficult to just like cut someone like that off, because now I got to handle all their claims. I'd almost like rather. Is there a way that you can give them limited access to like only their claims too?
Well, that's the way it is default in the system. So out of the box, an adjuster assigned to a
Can they go in and do anything bad though? If they just solve it, what if it's not a clean break? What if it's just like meh?
Trust me, we are in the middle of 3 of those right now.
Yeah, what happens there?
We have data snapshots going. We continuously back up your data. So even if part of a claim gets messed up, we can restore just that part. It's not like the whole document or nothing, or the whole claim or nothing. So you definitely can, because I mean, some breaks are good and some breaks are bad, and some are very, very bad.
Yeah.
And we can track that back, but we can cut them out of the system and bounce them hard. Like, we've gotten phone calls to say right now we go and we watch the logs and we're like, we see them trying to. We can't help if somebody screen caps it, but we can see if they're running reports and doing all of that. So we actually track a whole lot more information behind the scenes in ClaimWizard than even the owner in a company would see, just because it's like watching the Matrix on a screen. It really doesn't make any sense to anybody.
Yeah.
But we can decipher it and we can get you that information. But if you say you had a clean break, and you can either you leave his name in there, honestly, because historically you want to know that someone else has worked on this claim. Because if you just switch somebody's name and it's like, it was Fred, now it's Bob, it looks like Bob did everything when it wasn't the case. We can do that. But we've actually, because public adjusting companies have been buying and selling and merging and all this crazy kind of stuff, we can take, just say, that person's claims and export them and give them to him in his own ClaimWizard system.
Oh, okay.
Or we can merge them together. If I have companies being bought up where they've taken their ClaimWizard or another system and we've converted it and then put their claims into ClaimWizard. We've done where say somebody leaves and they don't want to take their claims. They're going to be in the system, but we can reassign all those claims instantly to another public adjuster or you. So then you just pick up where they left off, but all of your historical data is correct.
Got it.
Because that matters, obviously, for compliance. But we've done some of those hard breaks, too, of crazy.
It gets complicated.
It's always crazy.
Yeah.
Why are you guys always so crazy?
It takes a crazy person to do this, Lynette. Honest to God, it takes a crazy person.
It does.
It takes a crazy person. I tell people all the time, like, this: if you're in this to get rich, like, if that's your only motive, like, you're not going to make it. And you can get rich. And you and I know some freaking monsters out there.
Yeah.
But like it has to be about advocacy first.
Yeah.
If it's about money, it just ain't gonna happen. Like, just please get off.
I truly believe that even myself being in this, and definitely you guys, you have to have a servant's heart to want to do this.
You have to. It's too hard, especially nowadays. It's gotten very, very hard.
Yeah.
And the larger the claim, the harder it gets too. So if you really want to make big money and you want to work those big claims, by all means, go ahead and do it. But let me tell you, the larger they are, the more complicated they get, and the more questions they ask, the more evidence they want, and the more they fight. Which you have to fight back. So.
Yeah. I've been seeing a lot of people wanting to get into this industry, coming from lateral industries, such as, maybe they were on the IA side or they were a roofer.
I scared one off.
Those guys don't know what hit them when they come. They're like, you have to do so much paperwork.
I scared one off the other day. He's just like, I've been an IA for, I don't know how many years now. And I just, I'm just tired of it because the insurance company's taking advantage and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, cool. I said, are you sure you're ready to become a public adjuster? He's like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I said, okay. And then he started to complain about the pay. And I'm like, well, how much are you making? He's like, I don't know, $100 and something thousand a year. I said, that's great. I said, are you ready to not make any money for 3 years?
Yeah.
Are you ready to be broke? And he's like, what do you mean? I said, well, you're going now. I said, how many claims do you get a week? And he's like, oh, I'm working too much. It's like, I don't know, like 20, 30 claims a week he's got to work. And I'm like, well, are you ready to work 0 claims? Like, are you prepared for that? Like, I understand you don't like this side of it because it's overloading, but you may actually miss that when you come here and you got to start from scratch. And it all starts with networking and building relationships and going to networking events and dinners and this and that, because that's the only way. And then meeting more contractors and doing this, like, it's going to be very slow in the beginning. Are you ready for that? And yeah, I think so. I never heard from him again.
Yeah, and they don't. And the thing about that too is the gap in the cash flow is really hard. Like,
that's huge.
And I'm like, listen, you got to
tell people to get a job.
Yeah, you have to get it. I'm like, okay, you're a bang up estimator. Run estimates for other companies until you can get this. You have to some cash flow because your best case scenario, you're not seeing that money for 120 days.
Best case scenario, and if it's a low undisputed payment, it may be just a couple $100.
Yeah. And then you're getting a couple $100 for months worth of work.
Listen, I was
to learn. It takes a special person to be a public adjuster, but it's even more so to own a business.
Oof. Oh, and I tell everybody, I tell all the public adjusters, even if you're working under a firm, I do feel like if you're working your claim from A to Z, you are an entrepreneur. You're working your own thing. You're kind of doing, you're promoting your own self, stuff like that. But I was a full-time tennis instructor for a very, very long time while being a public adjuster. One of my guys was a bartender. I tell people all the time, if you're going to do this, if you're going to make this jump, don't quit your job.
Yeah.
I also ask them, and they think that I expect a different answer, but I asked them, I said, do you still live at home or do you live on your own? And when they tell me that they live on their own, I said, so you have to pay rent, you have to pay mortgage? He's like, yeah. I'm like, that could be a problem. Like, you're better off living at home and hopefully not having to pay that. Because what you need, you need 2 or 3 years, to really start building that book of business, building those relationships until they start coming in.
Yeah.
You either have to have another job, you have to have a huge savings. And I mean huge because I had another guy that came on, he had over $100,000. He burned through it.
Yeah.
He burned through it and he went to go work some other crazy, weird fracking job. Yeah. So anyway.
And all of that people don't talk about or people don't look behind the curtain about could possibly keep the industry from getting a good public adjuster.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Lynette, thank you for coming all the way from San Antonio.
I know.
To do this with me. We're going to do it again. It doesn't have to be in person. It could be virtual. No, the next one we're going to do, look, you're going to come on very often, so I hope you're ready for that.
Okay.
The next time you're coming on is definitely going to be about my experience and how I'm enjoying it. We did not get to the book that you got, Claim Your Success, but that's fine because you're still not done with it yet.
No, it'll be on October.
Right. So now's not the time to promote it anyway.
We're good.
Claim your success, but we'll get there. And anyway, I'm really excited, Lynette. Honestly, from the first time I met you, I think we hit it off.
Yeah.
You're a great person. And I'm just excited.
You're amazing, but you're like a cult of personality.
No.
You're like this big.
No, at all. I've got 8,000 subscribers. It's like, get out of here. In the public adjusting world, and then that's it. Anton's more popular than me. But yeah, no, honestly, thank you. I'm very excited about this. I've been wanting to get with ClaimWizard for a while now. It just never was the right time. I think now's the right time. And I'm just excited about this because, like I said, you seem like just a great person. I don't know you that well, but I know you well enough to
We'll get to know each
We're
other.
going to get to know each other more and more. And I love the support that you have for our industry. It's hard to find people that support our industry like I do. And yeah, I'm very excited. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
All right.